inspiring work that you do and the authenticity and the tireless pursuit of peace and good things in the world is really awesome. So thank you for all that you do. And I share your sentiments. You know, I remember saying recently that when you make a film, you don't know whether the people who are in it are going to be in some ways like lifted up beyond a reality or something. And what's amazing about Combatants for us, about the men and the women in this organization, are in real life, they're so much more than even what we could capture on film, because the film captures the big movements and also some of the subtle things, but it's the subtle things that are so powerful. You know, it's the ability to stand with somebody who's challenging you, and to do it from a place of nonviolence, a place of compassion, and a place of love, and understanding that their narrative it may be what they're stuck in, but that you can recognize it and you can work through it. And I think that's what Combatants does every day, is to hold a space and create a space for people, really for transformation.
You know, and for me, when we look at transformation, it's, you know, even like looking that it was less than 100 years ago or 100 years ago that women here in the United States have the right to vote. And to see the process that they had to go through in order to get that right it's absolutely incredible. So you look at all of the struggles as humanity that we go through in order to create the kind of world we want to live in. And none of them come without the sacrifice of people willing to step up and, like what we talk about, disturb the peace. And the question we always wanted for the film was not for people to idealize the combatants, but to actually join them, understanding that if somebody's willing to step up for something that we all believe in, what will you do then in response to it? Will you stand with them? It's even interesting when you think about, like, the title for us, Disturbing the Peace, means something particular in English. And I know it has a similar meaning, but I don't know the Arabic title, but I know the Hebrew title, I believe, is Mafrim et Seder, yes? So it's almost like disturbing the establishment, disturbing what's organized, what's proper, what's in order, right? And what's in order, we know isn't working. So that's the courage, is the ability, the willingness to disturb that order for something better for everybody. And to really start, not on the outside, but on the inside. And I think one of the things that I really watched with Suli, Avner, I mean, all of you, that was the own personal work that you were doing to do that first, because you knew that it had to start with you.
Thank you. And just before we continue, one thing that I forgot to mention before, every time we have a physical meeting or activity, we pass around a little page where everyone can write down their name and email if you guys want to stay in touch and come to more activities of Combatants for Peace. And now during coronavirus times, we are doing everything digitally. So we just put on chat that same kind of page if anyone would like to fill out your information and stay in touch with future activities. Following up on this conversation, I'd like to ask Suli, what kind of impact did participating in the film have on your life personally?
Wow. Hello, and I'm happy to be here also again with some of old friends and new friends I wish to see here. Marcina, Steve, I see Mehra also in the corner of my laptop, so I don't know, you're in Switzerland there. And Noah, thank you for being with us, and Khen, Usama, and other friends. Erit, I see a bunch of other people, friends here. So, wow. So basically, I would imagine this, we are used to maybe tell our stories, share our personal stories as a tool for specifically focusing on that transformation, what Marcina said in our stories as I myself ex-prisoner, you saw the story, and ex-combatants, and to keep inspiring people, especially maybe young people and people across the divide in every conflict situation, not just even our own conflict. I don't know if we own the conflict or not. This is for a conversation maybe, but this is there's a lot of of division around the world. If we talk about colors or people of rich and poor, and even in Corona time right now, there is a lot of division happening everywhere. I live in Ramallah, which is like a city life. My family still live in a village near Jerusalem. I also, like, there is also some tension there because it's area C and also the cultural wise a bit different. So I really relate like deeply with what Steve said. Basically, with the name of the movie, also make a lot of sense in Arabic. Al-Ikhlal bin-Nizam, disturbing the peace, is definitely deeply I'm connected to that concept. It relates to me personally. For me also, that's how I lived most of my life. I was not maybe aware of it when I started or in any stage of my journeys, and kind of resisting the system in the place that's unjust and that's set to serve maybe sometime, maybe for some people. And now I'm really like deeply connected with the title and the deep meaning of it, the spiritual meaning of it. I would also say that also the documentary made a lot of responsibility personally in us people in the movie, firstly to respect and always remember our community of activists, not just the one in Combatants for Peace that are not maybe in the movie. As you know, movie can't have all the people, and the one that are not even in our organization, other organizations. As an activist community, it's very important always to remember that the work that has been done daily and the activities we do, it's really a lot of other people also doing that. And it was also like for me, and still actually, I saw the movie a lot. Me and Mehra talked about it like every time I invite her on Facebook, she's seen it like 100, 120 times. Yeah, we talked about it, Marcina and Steve and myself and Khen, when we traveled in the US. We traveled a lot with the movie back in the days for the Corona time. We always talked about like it's really important to watch the like even part of it with a group, to just like go in the mood. And it's really for me like it keep the dream alive. It gives more motivation, not because of the personal thing there. It's not about us personally, really, like the 4 people, Palestinian, 4 Israelis, or 8 people, combatants for peace. It's definitely beyond this. It's really deeper than that. And you know, even now in Corona time, they say when you feel down and you feel lonely or something, it's very important to remember something that really motivated you and gave you hope. And I was just telling my friend Usama that he's in the other screen, you'll see him soon. He was asking me, how did I learn some stuff? Because I never been in university, some of the organization, I think. I told him I just learned them in jail. And it can fit for any situations. So yeah, I feel like the movie had, you know, like contribute like a huge to our message, to our organization also directly, to us personally, to our growth, to our maturity, to our learning, to our responsibilities also that we feel towards our cause, and that we started from there, like the land here, which is now a big conversation back in this land where people maybe the Corona brought people more to the land now, which I'm really happy about it actually. Like more people showing local activism, solidarity with each other. This really gives me a lot of hope actually now. Thank you.
Thank you. And another person who has definitely seen it at least 120 times is Avner. And I want to ask you a tricky question. So when you watch it now for the 121st time, is there anything that you kind of kick yourself about that you would have wanted to say and didn't say in the movie, or that you would wanted to have said differently? Avner?
You need to unmute.
You're on mute.
That's a good advice. Well, that is a difficult question. It's indeed the 120th time that I watch it, but it's, I think, the first time I'm watching it with my soldier haircut back on. This is because I had to do it myself, which kind of throws me back in time. But before I try to answer that, I just want to thank you all for joining, and Steve and Marcina again for the 120th time for making this movie, but also especially to Achinoam Nini, whom I don't know personally, but I don't know if people here know the tremendous amount of heat that she's been exposed to ever since, I don't know, for many years now, because of her support, not just to our work, but her standing for peace and equality and democracy. And I don't know, I just felt that I had to recognize that, because it also gives us strength.
Thank you.
So, watching the movie, I actually think that, yes, we've come a long way since it was done. I think along the lines that Sully mentioned, I think we've matured a bit, maybe grown old, hopefully still as determined to keep on going. But still, when I watch it, I think that it does capture the essence of this movement, which is still about transformation. And it was mentioned by Steve, Marcina, and Sully. I don't want to repeat that, but I think that our most important role still lies in this very word, which is not only to demonstrate, we have changed, we've transformed ourselves, but to demonstrate that a transformation, not just personal, but societal, is possible. Because I think this is maybe one of the things that we've lost over the last 10 years. It's the belief that things can actually change for the better, or that that it's worthwhile working towards that end. And I think maybe what we are missing, and what we stand for, other than transformation, is imagination. I think imagination is one of the things that has been really depleted in Israel by Netanyahu. I think if there's one person that is responsible for just killing any alternative path of thinking than the status quo, basically killing imagination, the very ability to imagine anything else. So we stand for that. We don't only imagine something else, we embody that vision, and we hold on to that for more than 15 years now. And it's not easy. We disturb our own peace, to use Steve's and Marcina's word, deeply. Anybody who's an activist knows what it means emotionally. But I hope that, especially in this global moment, global not in any positive way, in the sense that the whole world is, I think, experiencing many of the difficulties and challenges that we experience in the Middle East, in terms of, retreat of democracy and so on, conflict, national chauvinism, all these things. I hope that this movie is an invitation to all of us to get involved, because this is the only thing that we can do in order to hold that ground, to hold that vision in whatever particular configuration that fits, wherever you sit. Is it in the US, Europe, wherever? So, yeah, I would just take the movie as it is. I wouldn't change anything.
Jonathan, I think that was a great question that you asked, Avner. And I was thinking that...
You want to go at it too?
Sully mentioned that there were so many more people in the organization, and it's true. You can't make a film and have the hundreds of people and the thousands of people that show up to events and everything and that support this work. And even within the 8 people that we focused on, we could have made a complete movie on each one of them. And with Avner talking, I think one of the things that it made me remember is that Avner is like one of the great philosophers of the movement and of much more than that for me. And there's something that he said in one of the first times that we were talking that I always wished was in the movie, and I think it is in the movie. I think in many ways it's underneath all of it, which is a conversation about narratives. Because we tried to make a film that didn't have a villain, right? A film that has this sense of if you were born where they were born and you were taught what they were taught, you'd believe what they believe. Like to understand how people can act from a particular place. And we talked a lot about these narratives. And Avner made the comment that when you grow up in a culture that mythologizes the hero, you have to constantly create the villain, right? So when you grow up in a culture that mythologizes the hero, privileges the hero, idolizes the hero, you're constantly creating a villain. It's what we do in Hollywood, right? You can't have the good guy, you can't have the hero unless it can overcome the bad guy. And so we're constantly doing that. And this is not an Israeli-Palestinian thing, this is a human thing, right? And we see it all over the world. When we were invited to do a screening of this film at the House of Lords in London, it was the day of the Brexit vote. And you could feel this energy coming around the world, right? This feeling of separation, of creating the other, of xenophobia, of all of those things. So that's a piece that I think underlies the film, and something that I very much connect to Avner, and this notion that what we need to do in reimagining is to reimagine new ways to tell our story, new narratives that hold greater possibility for humanity.
I just want to say one thing about that too. One of the things I loved about Avner after the film was completed and we were touring was his father was there. And to watch how proud his father was of him in the film was really, really beautiful.
And one of the newer generations in Combatants for Peace, who was not in the film, but I think very much represents a lot of what you're talking about, is Osama, who was not here before when I made the introductions for everyone. But Osama, let's bring you in now. The film sort of peaks towards the key moment where the group of Israelis and group of Palestinians meet for the first time, and all the hesitations and all the peak of the process that each one of those characters goes through personally. Could you share how that personal moment was for you, your first encounter with the other side, with Israeli combatants?
I want to start saying to Noah that you really touched me. Like, you even make me believe in my way more than I used to believe right now.
Yay! Yeah! That's
So
the
really,
idea.
thank you so much.
You're the best.
And, you know, thank you also, Steve, for this movie that also took me to another level in my life, where I started to see these things, our message is going around the world even more and more. Like you gave us a big support by doing this movie, which was great and well done. Actually, it was so hard to me first time to meet the Israelis, to be honest. And I was confused about who are these people. Are they my jailers? Are they the killers of my friends? Are they the soldiers who used to take my father out of my house, you know, when I was a kid? Or the people who arrested me? But then in that time, I was thinking about it when I saw them as a people sitting with me by looking at my eyes as a human being on the same level, believe in my beliefs and believe in my rights, and also believe in their rights too. But like I was touched. I was touched by people looking at me the same level, and I couldn't see this beautiful image before, because the occupation did not give us any opportunity to see Israelis as something friendly, something safe, something you feel safe to talk to. It was always fears. So I think it's the beginning of who I am right now. It makes me see things a little bit differently. Then I zoomed out and I decided who I am and what I want, and this is my personality. I'm not follower. I'm not going with this is mine, you know, and no one else is allowed to be here. But at the same time, I'm still believing that I want to be free, and I will keep fighting to have my freedom. And I'm really proud that, you know, right now I'm not fighting alone. I'm not fighting violently. I am working peacefully with my Israeli brothers and sisters to get my freedom. And for me, that was really a big change in my life. I'm trying to pass it to everyone around me, even the kids. When I talk to them, any kids. At the same time, the situation is really difficult. Like, you know, I was teaching my little nephews and nieces about peace, and then 2 of my nephews were arrested. And they stayed like three months in isolation, each of them. So yeah, it's difficult, but we still believe, like, it's always difficult to come with a new idea, to tell people something else, not their narrative they grow up on, and not the stories of the grandfathers, grandmothers. It's difficult, but I think it's like someone have to take this risk, you know, and go for it, because it deserves this. Peace deserves to take all the risks. And you know, sometimes it's ups and downs with the situation. Like, you believe, oh, I'm so tired, I couldn't make change yet. People are going left and right, especially when Bibi won the elections, for example. But also you have to keep the hope, because this is our duty in this organization, to change the situation and bring hope and make it real. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Osama. I'd like to invite Marga Whitman, who sent an interesting question over chat. If you'd like to unmute and ask your question to the panel.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Marga, and I'm from the Netherlands. And my question was, because I noticed in the documentary some interesting discussions on the backlash that you guys receive. And I heard the term normalization. And I think one of you, I don't know if she's here, but she said it's very hard to be labeled a traitor by those you care about and in your own community. So my question to the panel would be, how do you deal with that sort of criticism and labeling from your own community?
Avner, would you like to have a first go?
It's ongoing. It never ends, and it's very different to different activists, because, you know, it begins, as Muhammad says in the end, it begins in a family. So it begins in your very, you know, immediate environment, and it depends if your family supports you or not. I'm fortunate to have the support of my family, even though in the early stages, especially when I refused, my father, whom you've seen in the movie, was very, very hesitant and anxious. And but generally, I am lucky in that way. But some of our activists, I'm talking about the Israeli activists, Osama or Suli will talk about Palestinian. Some of our Israeli activists, have these Shabbat dinner clashes with everybody around them, and for me too, in so many different circumstances, it's just like walking with a neon sign on your head. When I meet my friends from my service, it's almost always begins with, them teasing me about, that or the other thing. But it's just part of doing that. I think the most difficult time is now, is Memorial Day, as we are approaching, the date. We'll talk about Memorial Day later, but then the attacks become vicious. And outside Memorial Day, it was my job to be part of the, organization outside to receive the people who are coming, because they are very often attacked by the kind of people you also see in the movie. And I'm talking swears, but I'm also talking physical attacks. So we just kind of receive them and try to make them feel right and feel secure. And it's difficult because then you see this face-to-face under threat of violence always, because the police are never really there. And it's can get really scary. And and it gets really sad because last year, I was just standing next to a woman who's talking supposedly to her 10-year-old daughter, but actually she was shouting so that I can hear, and she was telling her daughter, "You see this guy, I'll spare you the words, you can imagine." And that 10-year-old was shouting back, "Yes, Mom, I know he's this and that, and I know all these people are this and that." To me, it was heartbreaking because I know so many people of my society, in one way or another, think similar things, maybe not to that extent, but it's just, we have to try and change that. That's all.
And before I refer the question to Suli, we also have with us Chen Alon, who is in the movie, who is not on our panel today, but wanted to quickly interject on this question as well.
Yeah, thank you, Jonathan. I just wanted to say a quick word about the word traitor, that each time I face it in the public sphere, it's easier for me because I dealt with a much louder voice in my head for almost 13 years that I didn't refuse to serve the occupation because I heard this voice in my head, this cop in the head that told me, if you'll do that, if you say no to such acts, maybe you are a traitor. So it took me to train myself to be detached from this voice, which is 100 times louder than the people in the street, that I really question myself. Maybe by doing this act and joining Suli and Osama in the same movement or the same house, maybe I'm a traitor. I really thought, and I really questioned myself, and I really dealt and struggled with this voice in my head, that when I went through the transformation and said, I better be with Suli and Osama in the same camp, in the same group, and being called traitor, than continue and doing what I did when I was an officer in the occupation. And that's a huge relief. So when I'm being called traitor, when I'm standing somewhere beside Suli and Osama, and someone is shouting traitor to me, I feel a relief, it's not a burden for me.
One last thing, Jonathan, if I may, quick. When we get these responses, at least it says we are disturbing their peace in some way. Something is deeply threatened by what we're doing, and the response to this threat is attack. This is natural, this is, instinctive. It's not always easy to deal with it, but at least it means there's something that is possibly, potentially, usually not, but maybe one day is moving there.
You know what?
Say something. Yeah. Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to say too, because in the movie, it was interesting because we actually did a screening too in Abner in your neighborhood. And I think it's hard for these guys to actually say or admit or to feel how much of a hero they are to so many people. And even when we did the first screening here in the United States to 1,500 people in mid-America, there was a standing ovation that they never expect. They've never had a standing ovation like that. And so I think it's hard for these guys to say that they're heroes because what does that mean? But they are definitely seen like that by so many people.
I'd like to say something if possible. Jonathan, is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
So first of all, I totally agree with what you just said, that you guys are absolutely my heroes, my personal heroes. I'd like to tell you a little bit of my own story in that sense. I started speaking out for peace 25 years ago. 25 years ago, when after the murder of Yitzhak Rabin. I grew up in the United States. I went to yeshiva. Anybody in America knows what that's, an American modern Orthodox yeshiva. I didn't even know what a Palestinian was until I came to Israel. I made Aliyah, even though I was born in Israel, but I made Aliyah just before serving in the army. Not for any, I grew up in a Zionist family, but it's because I was in love with somebody. Anyway, I found myself in Israel going to the army. I had no idea. The whole thing, I had only the Jewish narrative. I just didn't have any idea that there was anything else going on the other side. But once I knew it, as Louis C.K. would say, I couldn't unknow it anymore. And then I started acting, and then I started being involved, and then came the Oslo agreements, and then came Rabin, and then he was murdered, and I was singing on stage that night, singing a song for peace and feeling elated like many, but not all Israelis, but many, many Israelis. And that was it. And from that moment, I started speaking out. And that was when, we'd say in the Bronx, which is where I grew up, the shit hit the fan. And then I started getting threats to my life and everything. Everything happened to me. And I won't even walk you through the horrors that I've been through all of these years. But I've learned several things. First of all, I've learned about myself that I seem to be an extremely stubborn person. And I think that you have to be very, very stubborn and resilient in this kind of work. I once heard an amazing woman, a Nobel Peace Prize laureate, say that when you decide to work for peace, you can count on losing all your friends, on having a tough time for the rest of your life. That's just the way it's going to be, your family and friends and everyone. But once you get on that train, you better not get off of it. Because if you do, the damage you've done is much, much worse than if you had not gotten on it to begin with. Once you get there, you've just got to stay at it. And you can't be expecting to be rewarded in your lifetime. You might be, but that's not necessarily going to happen. And that's like what all the Palestinians always say. And my grandfather, Yemenite, I come from a Yemenite family, used to say also, you plant the olive tree, you're not going to be enjoying it. Someone else will. And peace activity is very much like that. You just need to do it because it's the right thing, and you have to believe that it's the right thing, and that drives you. So that's one thing. I absolutely believe it's the right thing, and that gives me an incredible amount of strength. I know in my heart of hearts, that this is what needs to be done. I think that another thing is that walking around expecting to be loved all the time is not a good thing at all. You can't just walk around in life and just try to seek love at any price all the time. You're not going to be loved. by everyone all the time. And if you manipulate yourself, even as an artist, we all know that, or as a human being or whatever, just to receive the love of those around you, even if you know that you're cheating yourself, your conscience, your family, your country, whatever, that's not going to hold water. It's not going to sustain itself. At the end, the lie inside will break. Just like Chen said, something inside you needs to know inside that it's right. Even if that means that certain people will not love you, others will. And you inside will go to sleep knowing I did the right thing. That's it. My children will be receiving a personal example of what it means to follow your beliefs, really 100% from top to bottom. And that's a very important thing. I also really, those hatred cries, I get them all the time. But I'm mostly not offended by them. And by the way, in my own family, just like you said, Avner, I have about half my family is radical right, okay? It's hard for us to sit at the same table. We just talk about nothing but silliness, what we're eating and whatever. The moment we get into the depth zone, it just doesn't, and I've tried. With some of them, I've given up. With some of them, I've had some success. My father is my great example. My father is an incredible activist. I think inspired by me, he's become even more radical. He's always said these things. He was, again, a Yemenite Jewish man, but very much connected, I think, the deep values of Judaism and what Israel stands for. But many times I say, the people saying these things to me, they're not saying them to me. They don't know me. I'm actually quite a lovely person. And I'm sure that we'd sit together for coffee, we'd have a great time. We'd probably be able to work out 90% of the things if we could sit one-on-one. And by the way, I do that all the time. Anytime I can. If I get someone who will come to me, and this is my method, if I manage to locate someone on Facebook or people that come to me in the street or whatever, and I see that they're not, just bazuzu crazy and violent, but they're offended, they're angry, they're whatever's going on, and there's a possibility that I can talk to them, then I will. I'm not afraid of someone yelling at me or something. So I normally say, wait a second, hold it, relax. Now, you want to maybe talk to me because we could possibly, and 90% of the time, you manage through a respectful conversation with someone. People feel that they're not respected, that no one's listening to them, that someone's looking down on them. There are all kinds of emotions involved. The narratives and the stories. If you manage to sort of put all that aside and just talk heart to heart, you very, very often agree on the large scale of what we're actually talking about. And that gives me an amazing amount of hope. I remember I once had such an interaction in the market, in the flea market here in Israel, that was filmed by chance. There was some documentary film being made on another subject. But this guy started yelling at me as soon as he saw me from far away. And this German, actually, film crew filmed this whole interaction. And it was amazing what happened to this guy. Just because I chose at that moment not to be personally offended, but to say, okay, he has his narrative, he has his feelings, he's thinking all kinds of things are happening. He's afraid. He's yelling at me because I'm threatening something. Of course, like Chen and Avner, everyone said, that means that we are disturbing people's peace. We're making them think. And they don't want that. They don't want that. So first of all, it's a badge of honor. But now if we put that aside and we say, okay, so if it's not personally about me, what is it about? Let's see what I can do. Let's talk to this person. And it very often works. That gives me an amazing amount of hope. And I also want to say something to Chen. Chen taught me a lot. I've known him for years. And I remember one specific conversation with him where I was having an argument with him, me and Gildor, my guitarist, about, I don't even remember what. And he said in his very, very serene way, Achinoam, basically it's the occupation. It's the occupation. We said, no, but it's this and it's that. He said, no. It's the occupation. And I remember going home and saying, this guy's right. Maybe he's right. And it drilled into my brain for a long time and made me think. So I think that the more, first of all, unafraid you are, deeply secure that what you're doing comes from a place of deep, deep values, of love your brother as you love yourself, of what you want for yourself, you must want for others. Suleiman said, or was it Osama that said, I'm fighting for my freedom. So Osama, you should know that your freedom is our freedom. There is absolutely no way that we can feel free in this country, no matter how much, we have a better life, we have an environment, we're free to move around. Yes, we have it much better off than you do, but we are not free under any circumstances. We're imprisoned and we're locked and we're miserable, and our lives, are kind of confused. Look what's happening in this country now with the politics. Why is that happening? Because we don't have a direction. We don't even know what we're thinking anymore. We don't know what country we want to live in. We're trapped. We are imprisoned in this horrible situation that we live in. We just can't get the thorn out of our paw like the lion, and we have to. And that has to do with the occupation. That has to do with freedom for our neighbors. And that is the right thing to do, to fight for it. So this knowledge and this energy and this love and the companion, and of course, when you see an amazing movie like this, and you see you guys and your courage and your tenacity, like I said before, for me, it broadens my lungs and fills my heart and makes me want to say, yes, 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 that's it. And that's the way we should be going.
You know what, Noah, when you were talking, Noah, when you were talking about Osama and the Israelis being imprisoned by the occupation, it made me think so much about something that Sully said once in a Q&A, which was the desire to end the occupation, not just for the freedom, not just to end the suffering of the oppressed, but to end the suffering of the oppressor.
Absolutely.
That's the transcendent idea.
Yes, yes, I believe in it.
I think maybe just thank you, Noah. This is really a great inspiring for all of us and this time. You were always inspiring activist and singer for us. Just to relate with you, I watched the scene of murdering Rabin. I was in jail at that time, actually. And when I left jail, the killer was in the same jail in Beersheba at the end of my time in jail. In 1997, my lawyer was Liat Semel, and there is a really important movie about her right now.
Yes.
Or since like 2 years, so I advise people to watch it, actually. I just want to add to all what you said, maybe specific thing on our Combatants for Peace, I would say, not to be so much in the ego, but actually we enjoy, I would say, relatively, compared to other organizations, we have a bit of privilege due to our background, that being in the jail or in the army, somehow. As you said, no, of course, people got, we got attacked over and over, criticism of all kinds, or doubting how you are not Israeli anymore, you are not Palestinian anymore, you sold out, you sold the homeland, you sold the olive trees and the za'atar and everything else. And of course you lose friends, and it's really sad and it's not easy. For me personally, I met thousands of Palestinians from jail time, and some of them, of course, they are not maybe appreciative anymore. These people exist. But with that said, I just want to say that the credibility that we had because of the background that we had is really important, maybe a bit unique for certain groups and certain activists that made the conversation a bit harder for people to do, actually. Because, in our part of the world also, like you did your duty, you already gave 10 years in your life in jail. And the much you suffer, the more you are Palestinian. Unfortunately, that's how it works in one way. In the other way, I would say having partners like our Israeli partners, really, I personally, I'm talking from Ramallah, which is area A, it's all Palestinian. I will post pictures from this panel on Facebook. Totally, I don't feel fear at all. We saw the movie in Ramallah. I see Steve agreeing because we were together here. And actually, it's interesting because the reactions that we got in both sides, it's very similar, just almost the same. I read Hebrew, like in the Memorial Day, for example, which we'll talk about soon. I see the page that against the Memorial Day, and then I turn to some Arabic anti-normalization criticism. It's just the same. How can you compare our blood with the enemy? We are the good one and they are the bad one. We are the victim and they are this and that. Of course, we recognize as Combatants for Peace, the privilege, the power dynamic here has to be recognized. As you know, I spoke, of course. In the same time, I think Khen spoke a lot about this, that we take responsibilities together for our destiny. And that was the day one in Combatants for Peace conversations. Actually, we talk about taking our destiny in our hands, not waiting the politicians to make another peace agreement of whatever papers. And actually, we knew, like in advance, once you are not in the mainstream politics, of course, you will be attacked, or cultural-wise. And of course, we are aware and sensitive to the principle of shame and the shaming principle in our communities. It's very hard, especially in Middle East culture. It's very challenging. Like my family still live in a village, so I have to be a bit conscious about their reputation. You know, from being Palestinians heroes, we all were in jail and fighting for Palestine and freedom, and now having Israelis coming to my family house, a bit of challenge. With that said, I have to say, I feel super proud and consciously like happy and calm with my choices of changing myself firstly, which as Khen said, like take a long time of nights of no sleep, of feeling you are a good person, like you don't want to cheat your homeland, your God, of whatever God you believe, your narrative and this and that. And that's why I think what I heard people here speaking about something we learn in nonviolence communication, that to meet people where they are at. It's a very challenging, but I think for activists it's really important that engaging in conversations to kind of have empathy to people that don't have the same journey that we have. And this is really what helped us. And many times in my experience, I can share of the transformation experiences that other people has. I don't really think we have to come to people that we know the truth, we are the hero, and we want to teach you. I don't think this attitude can help us. I think what I think Noah spoke about heart-to-heart language, this is really the key in my eyes, not logical, not numbers, and not comparing more right and victim. Like you said, Marcina and Steve and myself, we talked about this a lot, about the growing in certain narrative and belief, in certain system belief. It's not easy for people just to change in a minute while they meet somebody from the other side or another theory of change, which there are a lot out there. Just to end here, in one conversation, we have one of our co-founders, Elik El-Hanan. We spoke about it, about paying the price, working with the enemy in any conflict zone, you will pay the price. It's not an Arab-Jewish thing, just to say. But he said, actually, you also create and belong and had a new community to belong to, which you choose, which is very important. This is not a family you're born to or a community or a religion you're born to. You choose this family of activists, and this makes you happy and give you a lot of motivation, satisfaction, and with all the challenges that we face, of course. Like, we don't want to make things so smooth and easy. We have a lot of challenges, like, especially I would say here, like, for us, the Palestinian, because of the power dynamic, because we live directly under the daily life of the occupation, it's much more challenging. Like for me personally, in October, when my mom and my family need a permit to go to the olive harvest, it's very challenging times, for example, because it's an ongoing situation, it's not post-conflict. So just to keep this in our mind. With that said, I think we have to remain up there somewhere in the sky of dream. And what they say, I learned this in jail, how to make a revolution, you have to sell hope. That's what I know from jail time. And that's really our rule. And this is not an easy place to stay, but we have to stick there.
Thank you, Suli. We mentioned the memorial ceremony quite a few times, and this is indeed because we weren't being called traitors enough just during our ongoing activity during the year. We wanted to have a special peak time to get a concentrated amount of treason. Let's bring in Ayala, who is the content leader of this year's ceremony, just to make sure that everyone participating is on the same page, and tell us about the ceremony that Combatants for Peace does with the Parents Forum.
Yeah. Okay, so historically, first of all, I have to say the idea of the ceremony was given to combatants by Buma Inbar, who was a bereaved father. He lost his son Yotam in Lebanon in '95, and he's an amazing person, dedicating his life to helping and saving Palestinian children. So that has to be said. And it's really a unique ceremony, this ceremony, because it's not only working together with people who your society is calling enemies, it's acknowledging their pain and their humanity. And in societies that live in intractable conflicts, it's close to unbearable. Plus, on top of that, the ceremony is being held on the same day as the Israeli Memorial Day, which is a collectively sad and sensitive day. It's not a partying day. So we get a lot of criticism for this ceremony and a lot of criticism for doing it on the same day as the Israeli Memorial Day. But we're doing it for a reason. We're sending a message saying that we're all humans and we all hurt the same, we all grieve the same. And in the bottom line, we're both victims of the conflict and we're also the ones who make it happen. And when you realize this, then you realize that we can also bring it to an end. And that's what we wish more people will agree to see. And I think when Suli and Chen and Avner talked, I think that's what they refuse to see, the people that call us traitors and all that. But in spite of all this, and in spite of the very active and passionate public discussion the ceremony creates every year more people come, more people attend. It began as a small gathering of people 15 years ago, and for 15 years we're doing the ceremony. And last year, 9,000 people sat in the audience. So for me, this is hope.
And one of the things that I've experienced, this is my first ceremony to work on, as I've just joined Combatants for Peace myself. And one of the harder tasks I've found is getting performers to perform. We have an ideal list of who we'd like to have, and we call this one, and they don't want to, they're worried about their reputation, and we try the other one, and there's some kind of excuse. And then there's one person who stands out, who actually we don't approach because she always beats us to it, and every couple of years offers to participate, which we always very much love. Achinoam, can you tell us about performing at the memorial?
Well, my dad, which said he would be on the Zoom, will tell you that, I don't know if he's there, but I can't see him right now, but maybe he is. Will tell you that my mother thinks that I am a total nutcase. And every year she says, why do you have to do that? Why do you do that? I don't listen to her. I started not listening when I was 15. Anyway, but look, this is the thing, right? First of all, as I said, I believe that when you do something, you have to be consistent about it. You have to be stubborn. If you do something, then change your mind, you look like an idiot and you're also weakening the cause. So if I decided years ago that I believed in this, then I'm going to keep doing it. That's it. Consistently. And I think that that's the way you earn people's respect. I mean, they may not agree with you, but they will eventually respect you for being consistent. And I think that what Ayala said about the ceremony growing the way it has is because of that. Because year after year, it's there and it's consistently there, and it's conveying this incredible message. And people say, okay, maybe we should look into this. Maybe there's something behind it. That's one thing. So I believe in consistency. Second, about traitors, right? I see myself as the opposite of a traitor. I mean, the absolute opposite. I do not accept that definition of traitor. For me, and I listened to what was said in the film, and it was said very clearly. Loving a country and wanting to live in it means wanting it to be a place where you can raise your children, and where your children, and a place that your children will not want to leave. So I love living in Israel. I didn't grow up in Israel, like I said. I have an American passport. I have options. I perform all over the world. I have an honorary citizenship from about 6 countries. But I prefer Israel. And the way to live in Israel is only to fight to make it a worthy place to live, a beautiful place to live, and to really actually emerge with the best of its potential. And that means working for peace. So what I'm doing, in my opinion, is absolutely in the benefit of the country, and it's the opposite of the traitor. I'm a patriot from my point of view. So this is an act of patriotism. And if people don't see it, then that's their problem. I'm sorry. That's true. It does hurt my popularity greatly. But as I said, I'm not in the business of trying to be loved by all the people all the time. Just like in my music, I don't make music that tries to be loved by people all the time. And I'm not, it's not a Coca-Cola advertisement. Let's see how much sugar and things so people will drink it. No, I make my art the way I think it should be made. So it's very important for me and a great honor for me to participate in this ceremony. And it pains me that many Israeli artists or no Israeli artists will actually feel comfortable enough or strong enough or confident enough with themselves, with their public, with their, it's painful, the situation we have in this country that you will be singled out, you will be ostracized, you will be attacked for taking this stand. But from my opinion, there's nothing more beautiful than being there. There's nothing more appropriate for an artist than to be standing in a place of hope where bridges are being built. That's what we do as artists. We build bridges. And I remember Mira Awad, my great friend and great artist, once wrote, "The bridge is the first thing attacked by the army. Everyone wants to attack the bridge. It's the first thing blown up because it's a dangerous thing. It will connect one side to another. So we need to attack it. But we are the bridges." And so even under attack, we need to be doing that. And so I'm very proud to be participating this year, once again, in this fantastic ceremony. I have to say that this year I released an album called Letters to Bach with the music of Johann Sebastian Bach, lyrics that I wrote. And one song was really distinctly inspired by women working across the divide for peace. And I was thinking of people like Mira Awad and like Women Waging Peace. And I was thinking of the mothers of the Parent Circle Family Forum. And I actually invited two of them, Robbie Damelin and Bushra Awad, to participate in the video clip that we made for this song. And it went around the world and people were moved by it and it led them to read about the organization and the amazing work being done by people like them and like you, like Combatants for Peace. And I'm so very proud of that. And I believe that the video too will be screened in the ceremony, and Gil and I will also come and do a song live in the virtual COVID-19 version of the ceremony this year.
Thank you. My next question to Suli. So we call it the Joint Palestinian-Israeli Memorial Ceremony, but it's on Israeli Memorial Day, and it's in Tel Aviv every year, and it's mostly the vast majority of participants are Israelis. But you come to it, I think you've been to every one of the 14 that have taken place so far. This year is the 15th. Can you tell me the significance? I know we feel good, we feel inspired when we go to it, but can you tell me the significance to people living under occupation, why this ceremony is important?
I'm so inspired by Noah that I'm still processing. And Mira also, our friend, really. Yeah, and these are the people that really I feel always inspired when I see Israeli or people from across the divide, across the bridge, like coming together. This is always a big reason for hope. So for me, like, yeah, I believe I've been in the first ones. Let me say that this is like, it have different levels of feelings and thinking about attending a memorial day. That's most likely the cultural context. There is no memorial day in the Palestinian situation. There are many other not easy days along through the year, you know, the Nakba Day, the Naksa Day, the Prisoners Day, which was yesterday, and most of the year we have days like that. For me, I feel the Memorial Day specifically is a very sacred, deep ceremony that really touched deeply the hearts of lots of people, including ourselves, the people that maybe from the beginning were there. And every year, again and again and again. It represents for me like the vision of what could be different here. There is a lot of conversation about being called the alternative thing before, but now we call it the Palestinian-Israeli Memorial Day. this maybe need a lot of conversation with Khin about the name. Still, for me, in my mind, in my vision, in my heart, I am totally in favor always of promoting and supporting a new narrative in a general. Since we talk about Israeli narrative, Palestinian narrative, some people maybe would call it a third narrative, a new narrative that's really represent hope, that include the pain and the victimhood on both sides. And for me, I don't act out of victimhood. I am aware of the daily life under the occupation, myself, my family, and my community, of course. And as Noah said, this is totally an act of, I'm thinking beyond nationalism. It's not in me anymore. I'm feeling more in the human level, connecting with my brothers and sisters that in the other side. And I'm a very spiritual person in a way. So I come also from an Islamic culture that have also Sufism and love and peaceful also in some schools of it, let's say. And that's why I have the love behind me in the kitchen sign, because I really believe the power of love can really transform people. And I believe most of our population in both sides, like the people around the world, are good people. And as Nelson Mandela said, as people learn to hate, they can learn to love also. And that's one of the people that inspired us, like as the ex-prisoner maybe. So I feel the acts that we learned from Mandela, that he was in jail also, and many others, of course, that we can mention here. This is the acts that for me inspired me in history, people that come out of strength, not weaknesses. I don't feel weak when I'm there. I feel totally belonging, included, and my voice heard. When I see Mira and Noah singing there, for example, using the two languages, I feel represented. Anything that just Israeli doesn't represent me. I'm not Israeli of any means, and I'm not just Palestinian, of course. Like, as I said, I really feel the Memorial Day is hard to describe it even in words. It's always emotional, always like there is like a joint tears also. Like I'm always happy. I don't know to say happy and sad, like just to be together. For me, this is the point, and that's all. I don't care so much about the political arrangements, and we want to move our population there. I don't mean to the Memorial Day, to much more joint spaces, and that is what we try to create. And they say it's not enough to just to fight the darkness all the time. We have also to light candles and to create new spaces. And I believe, I don't know, Abner Ruchen said the Memorial Day became a part of the reality that we want to create. And this is the most thing I would support from the bottom of my heart.
You know, one of the ways, Jonathan, I was just going to say that one of the ways that we tend to get to love as human beings is through grief and tears. And the question came up earlier about the price that the combatants can pay or activists can pay for their work. But I have to say that what I've experienced coming into the region and working with everybody over these years is that aside from that price that can be there, there is something that is gained, which is a freedom. There's a freedom and a joy to life that very few people get to experience. And I think that is one of the things that is so compelling about being around combatants, around Noah and Mira, and so many people who understand that, who experience that freedom, because it's something that you carry with you wherever you go. And it's something that's undeniable.
Yeah. I just wanted to interject and say that we were supposed to go for an hour, and that hour ended 8 minutes ago, but this conversation has been too fun for me to cut off in the middle. So we're going to go for about 10 more minutes if everyone's okay with us being overtime. There's no sports now, so this is the only overtime we get. Let's enjoy it. So I was describing what the ceremony was supposed to look like, but then came coronavirus. Can you tell us a little bit about what it looks like this year, when for the first time we have the opportunity for the ceremony to really be what it was supposed to be, because it's not going to be in a physical location. So we're going to get to broadcast from Tel Aviv and Ramallah. How is that going to work? What does the ceremony look like?
Yeah, okay. First, I want to say, because we haven't mentioned it, we got a great present at the beginning when we started working from Hanoch Piven. He created our leading image, which Hanoch Piven is a well-known artist, and he did a great work for us. And we actually
he's here
met
with
him.
us. And he's here with us tonight. Yeah.
Hi,
He's here.
everyone.
Hey. So, and we actually met together, all our team, back in the days when we could meet. It was an exciting first step. And as Jonathan said, we'll have this year two broadcasting points, one in Ramallah with Osama, and one in Tel Aviv. And apart from that, we're keeping the same
Format?
Eh?
Format?
Yes, thank you. That's the word. Which means we'll have two Palestinians and two Israelis sharing their bereavement stories. And we'll have an Israeli writer and poet who will give a speech. And we'll have songs in Hebrew and Arabic. Achinoam will be singing one of them. And I think it's an opportunity to reach everybody in the world, since it's going to be live streamed and also subtitled in 3 languages. 1 language speaking, 2 languages subtitled throughout the ceremony. I think that's it. We'll have, after the ceremony, we'll have Zoom meetings with families talking about the loved ones that they lost and about their choice of working towards reconciliation and giving up revenge. And what else can I say? April 27, 8:30 p.m. We'll have links on our website and on our Facebook page. And join us.
Osama, can you tell us a little bit about what it will be looking like in Ramallah? Have we lost Osama? Or no, you're muted. Okay. Suli, perhaps would you like to talk about the Ramallah podcast?
I think Osama's here also.
Yeah,
right?
he's here.
Because we both cut kind of. It's maybe something political. I don't know. Osama?
Hi, sorry, I forgot to unmute. My internet stopped and I'm just back. Can you ask again?
Sorry, the question was about the ceremony this year, and thanks in brackets to coronavirus, we get to broadcast it simultaneously from Tel Aviv and from Ramallah. So can you describe to us what it might look like from Ramallah?
Actually, to be honest, I used to that Memorial Day where you see people and you stand and sit next to them. This year is an opportunity actually for us to reach more and more people. And I don't know, maybe I will feel touched more when I see people from the screen because of the coronavirus, and it will show me that there is another supporters in the world and they are looking at us and they care. Or maybe Corona give them a little bit of time to see different things than running after work all the time, you know, some freedom to see what's going on in this region, and that there is some people really don't agree with it and they believe it should change and start to support us, please, because we really need your support. We can't keep charging ourselves alone. We are human beings. I know we took a really brave steps because we believe, again, as Noah said, my freedom is their freedom. I want to say to Noah that I agree with you, you are not traitor, because you and people like you are the ones who convinced me to accept and believe that Israelis have the right to live with me, not their weapons and not their tanks and not their jails or soldiers. Convince me to see Israelis as something accepted on this land. But now I believe if they don't have their rights, I don't have my right, and the other way around. So you are, guys, people like you are defending the Israelis and not cheating them, because you're showing us the humanity on the Israeli side. And that's what we see always in the Memorial Days. So please don't lose this opportunity wherever you are. It is really, it's gonna touch your hearts.
Jonathan, if I can add something following up on Osama. I think this double perspective, or this understanding of the wholeness of living here and everywhere, basically, the understanding, which for us has become simple and instinctive, but for most of people around us is not so natural, that, you know, Osama's happiness is mine and the other way around, and his freedom is mine and the other way around, and our captivity, although felt much more acutely by Osama, is also my captivity, and so on. And I think the Memorial Day captures some of this understanding of the mutual relations in a very deep way. It's not just us and them and transcending that. It's combining rather than negating and denying the past, envisioning a future. I remember one time a US facilitator asked us, how did you manage to erase your past? And that's not what we are about. Combatants for Peace is about living with our past. This is where we come from. And it's a struggle, and it's violence. And it's remembering that this is where we were maybe 10 or 15 or 7 years ago. And living with that and coming from this experience in an attempt to, quote, Achinoam and Suli, heart to heart, try to convince others that it's possible. Memorial Day works in a similar way, because it begins, or it gives this place for what has already happened. And this is the grief. This is the pain. And this is the pain that has already happened, but it's with looking ahead and trying to prevent the next casualties and more pain that is the essence of this ceremony. So it's again this combination of being part of our societies, but also and aware of the narratives in which we were grown, but also taking responsibilities and trying to create something else and embody it.
One of the most beautiful things to me, the most touching things about the memorial, is something I believe that Chen says in the film about the desire to be together. And every year there's always a question of, are Palestinians going to get their permits? Are the roads going to be shut down? You know, who's going to be let through? Are the speakers going to be able to speak? All of those things. And, you know, the coronavirus, which forces us to be separate, all it does is it reinforces our desire to be together. These kinds of connections that are going on in the virtual world right now are as connected as anything that we could do, because it's our desire to be with each other, you know, and there are no borders in this world, right? We transcend all of that. And so the coronavirus, not that we wish it, but it asks us all to check in and to realize that innate desire to connect. And on the 27th, the ability to do that, not just in Israel and Palestine, but all over the world, you know, is an amazing thing. And it's one of the beautiful gifts that Combatants for Peace gives to the world, is to create that space for us to come together and feel that desire for connection.
We are talking about the Memorial Day. I'm sorry, just one comment I have, that we are talking about the Memorial Day, and I really want to take this opportunity to thank one of the biggest supporters to our organization and the Memorial Day, who's with us here today, Mehra, because like she's one of the people who really believe in this day, and she always supported. So I will say thank you very much.
I want to join into those thanks. Mira is an extraordinary person in her organization too. And she was also supportive of the video I spoke to you about later with the woman. And yeah, we definitely should express gratitude to people like Mira. Osama, thank you for bringing that up.
Mira, say hi so everyone can see you.
Where is she?
We love you too, Mira.
Mira, there she is.
Also, maybe, Jonathan?
Also inspiring that it comes naturally to want to help you all.
Thank you.
I would just maybe also to welcome and thank our friend and close friend Mindy. And where are you, Mindy? I forget which state now. Actually, maybe hi. So people can see you. I know her very well, like since some years. So you guys can connect also with her. She's a big supporter of Combatants for Peace, and also we have a lot of spiritual exchange, especially to add to Steve of this opportunity of the coronavirus. Let's say, and it's really important just to say, like one thing, just to be relaxed about how our city sees us. As our friends here said, truthfully, I'm aware, because I read Hebrew and I have Israeli friends, I'm aware how the Israeli side see our, let's say, our group and other groups. I just want to say that for just a simple mainstream Palestinian, the only Israeli that we encounter is the soldier. That's all. Like even in the Corona time, which is a bit much worse, there is more behaviors right now from the system, and in a normal time, the only people that can change this about the Israeli society, and in the eyes of our people, are these people that they got a lot of criticism in their society, and this is what gives us also strength and partnership, and to be proud of them. It goes really both ways, and that's very important for me, like to mention this. And now even the Corona time, like with the challenges that we face on the ground, both by like extreme settlers, by the system, by maintaining power, by taking land of people, and all the behaviors that there is no time to like go on and on. And this is the time that we need like to bring more people, and this is maybe the Memorial Day always is a call for action. It's a very political act in the deep meaning way. And specifically with the Corona time, I hear a lot of conversation across the world, across the globe, on changing the system, changing the world, and reconnecting to the earth, to the nature, to the spirit, and rebuilding our communities. And I'm feeling very hopeful actually with this situation. I just have a listen today from my old aunt, she's like 90 years old, from my mom, sitting with them around the trees, working, just posting on Facebook. So I think this is what we need, like to to go through this era through Corona and beyond that.
Thank you, Suli. And not realizing before that he was with us today, I want to formally welcome Hanoch Piven, my friend and world-renowned artist and illustrator. If you by chance don't recognize the name, you do recognize his work, which generally will look like this. It is art created from materials, which I know not only from the newspaper, but from a workshop that he did at my son's school that we got a chance to participate in together. Hanoch, can I invite you up to talk a little bit about how badly we abused you this year in giving you the impossible brief of the memorial ceremony and how you handled that?
Well, I guess, again, I want to resonate words that were said here earlier. And really, I think that the older you get, the less heroes you have in general. But I feel that those activists that appear in the movie and that are here with us today are really part of my new heroes, and for many years, not new. And so is Noah, Achinoam. So for me, when I got the call from you, Jonathan, it was like, yeah, I can participate in this as well. This is a ceremony that I feel is an horizon. It creates an horizon in a sea of darkness. And in a way, this is what I wanted to try to show visually. And of course, it is such a delicate balance to find artistically to try to create both the sense of grief and the sense of hope. So, you know, all what I can say is that I hope that somehow I managed to convey that.
Oh, wow. That's so beautiful.
Thank you.
Isn't it a gift?
It's really, really beautiful. Wow.
It's always everything he does. It's just bravo.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Hanoch.
Thank you. And I hope to see some of you tomorrow when we can discuss a little bit more the different ways in which art can be a form of change, a form of resistance. And I think, you know, education is one of the ways it can do it.
My last question for tonight, because we're coming to an end of the half-hour extension that we made, is to Achinoam. You did share with us some of how you got to your activism and about your conviction, but there's one more thing about you that I would love for you to share with us, because on the ground it often feels that things are just getting harder and harder. Trump with his deal of the century and the annexation that's being discussed now in the coalition agreements coming in the summer, and of course the new settlements that are being built now while the rest of the country is sitting in social isolation because settlements don't fear coronavirus. Yet you remain optimistic. Do you have any parting words to share with us about how do we share in this optimism?
You know, I'll say a sentence that I heard that I really live by. Optimists and pessimists, they all die the same, but they live differently. And I would much rather live as an optimist than live as a pessimist. There's just absolutely no reason to live in darkness. And when you don't, when you believe that there is a possibility for light, you generate light, you create that reality. I absolutely believe in that. That's one thing. And the second thing is that, you know, this is such a strange world we live in. Was anyone expecting this COVID-19 madness or this corona thing? Who could, I mean, this guy maybe said it in a TED Talk 6 years ago, and this guy wrote about it, but come on. I mean, we're all in a state of shock what's going on in the world. This is a world of singularity, as Kurzweil would say. So there's a lot going on and things change radically, exponentially. So if things can change radically and exponentially for the worse, they can also do that for the better. there's absolutely no mathematical reason that that cannot happen. So the only thing we have to do is be prepared when that change comes. And prepared means doing the groundwork, believing, generating good energy, keeping that smile on your face. You know, it's my most famous song is Smile Without a Reason Why. And I absolutely believe in that. I don't always have a reason to smile, but when I smile and it's infectious and that energy seeps out. And so we do something, we have to, we just absolutely have to. And I don't see any reason, again, I'm just reiterating this thing again, that if terrible things and dangerous things and Trumpian things, you know, right before Trump, we had Obama. And who knows what's going to happen right after Trump? I mean, that guy will pass and Netanyahu will pass and all things will pass and something is going to come in its place. There's absolutely no reason to believe that a good thing will not happen after a bad thing. There can be 2 bad things and then a good thing, 3 bad things and then a good thing. I don't want to give the very mundane example of Germany and Nazi Germany. I know it's been said a billion times, but let's remember that right now, for me, the most responsible, courageous, humane leader in the world is from Germany. I'm listening to Angela Merkel, what she's doing. My own cousin lives there. In fact, my own cousin, a Jewish opera singer, is living in Berlin. How many years have passed? Nothing. She just told me that in like 24 hours, the German government gave all independents money in the bank, supporting them, helping them, artists, culture as being, I mean, come on. Now, was anybody going to be predicting this just a few years before when Germany was like the most horrible thing the planet could ever imagine? No. So I'm saying there's no reason not to believe that that change can come from our region. And this is also mundane what I'm saying. Everyone knows that if we manage to work out something in this part of the world, the ripple effect will be enormous. More than, I think, almost any other conflict in the world today. It will be an enormous ripple effect. And so it's worth believing in it, worth working for. You know, I like I said, I love this country just like my Palestinian brothers. We love this piece of land. Why? Because we do. We're connected to it historically, passionately, emotionally. I'm not going to leave here without scratch marks on the walls. No way. You know, if I'm going to go, it's going to be with a fight, and I don't want to go. So it's a fight, and I'd much rather do it with a smile, and you know, live, as I said, as an optimist.
Thank you, Achinoam, very much. Thank you to all the panel members. I hope that everyone who is with us today will remember to participate in our memorial ceremony, April 27th. In the chat, there are the links of how to join. Please consider if you can. I know these are very difficult times, but we of course need help in funding the memorial. So if you could support us as well through those links, that would be massively helpful as well. And we hope to see you all participating virtually on April 27th. I want to wish everyone briut, sacha, health. And I want to try something new today. I'm going to unmute everyone, all the participants. And I'd like, as we say goodbye, just for everyone to say peace in their language.
Salam.
Paix pour tout le monde.
Shalom, shalom.
La